Thank you all for coming out this morning. The rain's holding off, so this is good, but we hope it'll come a little bit later so our rain garden can get put to work. I'm Janet Bowser, the NRC director, and this is our second installation of a rain garden and low impact development project. Our two consultants on the project are Ed Himlin, who's executive director of the Mass Watershed Coalition, and Mike Clark is a professional engineer, and he's helped us install the Morris's Pond Garden as well as this. So they're going to talk a little bit more about the technical aspects of a rain garden and some of the things you'd need to know to consider putting one in on your property. But I did want to mention that the sustainable landscaping effort of the NRCs is part of our Green Wellesley campaign, which aims to encourage residents by setting an example of things you can do on your property to protect the environment and to create a sustainable community. And this piece is really keeping water local. In this situation, instead of having water run off two directions on the driveway and go into a catch basin, which goes into Cold Spring Brook, which goes into Fuller Brook and into the Charles River, we're having it diverted into this rain garden, which will recharge on site, keeping rain where it should be, keeping the water where it should be.
I work for the Massachusetts Watershed Coalition, and our focus is stormwater, and that's what we do. We work with towns around the state to try and prevent pollution, but also to fix damaged streams and ponds. And it's stormwater, and you may or may not know this, but stormwater, that's the biggest problem we have. It's the biggest threat to all of our streams and ponds and water supplies. And I'd say 2/3, particularly in the eastern part of the state, 2/3 of the streams and the ponds are being killed by stormwater. And you see that here in Wellesley. Water that comes off of our roofs, goes into our driveways, goes out to the streets. Not so much stuff coming off of our property, but you start adding up all the houses and all the streets and all the parking, it's adding up to a lot of pollutants. And it all goes down the street, goes along the curb. You see the curb there? And it's going down the curb, and then what happens to it? Goes into one of those catch basins, disappears. But let me ask you, would you want to drink the water that's running down along the curb? Of course not. But the fish and the stream life have to live in that water. They're breathing that water. They're breathing in all of those pollutants that are coming in. And I'll flip it over to the other side, just so not everyone knows everything that's in stormwater. But the big thing that you'll see there is sediments, and that's the big problem that we've got with stormwater in particular. All of the dirt and sand that's washing down the streets. And if you go out, you know, after a rainstorm, one of the things that you'll always notice is how nice the streets look like, how clean they are. And the reason why they're clean is because now it's in the streams. Along with that, you've got all the toxic stuff. You've got the poisons that we put down every place. You know, different kinds of biocides that we use. Then you've also got the metals that are coming off of the cars. You've got the petroleum products. So all that stuff adds up to just little tiny bits. But when it rains, it's that first inch of rain, all of that gets concentrated, and then it goes in and it becomes quite damaging. A big impact that nobody really thinks a whole lot about is during July, August, and into September. What are those asphalt roads? I mean, what are they like? Really hot. You wouldn't want to walk across them in bare feet. And when you get that first half inch of rain, you're putting a lot of warm water into the streams. I mean, a lot of warm water, and it's kicking up the stream temperatures to where the stream life cannot really, it is not adapted to it. So all of those things add up, and they're killing streams and ponds all across the state.
This system is not only designed to infiltrate the water in, it's designed to get rid of all those pollutants that Ed was talking about. So this soil consists of, and this is by volume, it consists of 2 parts coarse sand, 1 part compost, and 1 part wood chips. It gets all mixed together. And there's a bucket there. Ed, could you grab that bucket for me? Yep. Material looks like a sandy topsoil. And the reason it's designed that way, yeah, go ahead, is you want it to be able to drain, okay? So initially it drains really fast, and then the material inside it starts to break down a little bit more. And the compost acts as like a sponge. All that organic material in there absorbs the water, but more importantly, it starts to absorb the nutrients. So it absorbs the phosphorus, it absorbs the nitrogen that's in the ground. It absorbs, when you see a runoff after it hasn't rained for a couple days, you'll see that sheen of oil and grease that comes from the vehicles. It'll grab that. It'll grab the metals, your brakes, when you apply your brakes. Every time you apply your brakes, you're putting metals onto the runoff of the pavement. So what happens is now that you've got the soil and you put the plants in the ground, that water comes in, is stored in there. And then you get a lot of biochemical processes that happen. The phosphorus and the nitrogen are used by the plants to grow, okay? The metals are picked up by the plants because they use small amounts of metals in them to grow. You use the oil and grease gets naturally broken down, it gets remediated. It doesn't really get into the ground. I mean, you can't spill a gallon of gasoline in here, but it's the stuff that runs off in the street concentration. Ed talked about the sediments, okay? The sediments run in there and they get filtered and they stay there. So come this September, you'll look at the mulch and go, oh, that looks like heck, because it'll be full of sand and organic debris and that type of stuff that's going to be cleaned out. But the plants start to grow. As the water gets in there, the stormwater actually fertilizes the plants and they start to grow. So what you say, what good is that? Because next year you're going to get more and more, they'll be overwhelmed. Well, the plants die. So some of the pieces of the plants die. You take any of that debris out, you prune them, and you basically remove it. When you remove the biomass, you're removing all those nutrients. And that's the whole process of what happens. Or they grow and they get bigger and bigger and bigger, and you're still pulling that out of the stormwater, and you're not letting that material go into the stream.
If you'd like more information, go to our website. Feel free to give me a call in the office. I'd like to particularly thank the Wellesley Garden Study Group. They made a very generous donation towards the planting material here. And it's been wonderful to partner with them, and we hope to continue this and work with both them and the other garden clubs in town to try to encourage homeowners to look at their property, see what they can do to capture water and keep it on site.